going to be doing a paper mache tutorial and showing you a variety of supplies you can use for this project. A lot of these are household items that you probably have at home anyways. So this is a really fun project if you're feeling like creating and getting messy and using just basic supplies. So let's get started. So here are some things that I've paper mache'd in the past. I made a fox, a donut, and this heart with wings. It's kind of decorated with some folk art. Same with the fox. They started out with a different material underneath. So what you see on the outside is not what's on the inside. You have to kind of make a form. I think underneath this one, for the base, I used plastic wrap actually. These other two are tin foil. So whatever you're making, you are going to want to have some sort of base on the inside made from a certain material. I usually use tin foil, but you can use crumpled up pieces of paper, newspaper. Even sometimes people use balloons and paper mache balloons, and then when it's all dry, like pop the balloon on the inside. So that would be kind of cool. But there's lots of different materials you can use for this. I'm going to be using tin foil, but it's up to you. Whatever you have at home, whatever you want to use for that. I decided I'm going to be making a cat, just the head of a cat. So I've taken a piece of tin foil and kind of crumpled it down and shaped it into what my cat's head is going to be formed like. So it doesn't have to be perfect right away because again, you're covering this up with your strips covered in paper mache. Your next step is to get out whatever type of paper you're using. Sometimes people use paper towels if you have extra paper towels laying around. And you want to rip long strips. So I ripped up this paper towel into long strips. Now, at the very end of all of this, you are going to have a chance to paint it if you have paint. Like all of my examples beforehand, I did paint all of those at the very end. They started out when I was done with the paper mache and it all dried. It was just white, so I painted all of that. But if you didn't have paint at home, you could use construction paper or some sort of other colored paper for your strips. So if I was making an orange cat, I could use this orange construction paper and paste that all over so that my cat would just be orange and I wouldn't have to paint it in at the end. So it's up to you, but I do have paint here, so I'm going to be using my paper towels to cover my form here, and at the very end then I'll have a blank canvas and I can paint in the rest of my details. So for paper mache paste, there's a couple of different things you can use. You can use just normal like school glue and water it down till it's pretty runny. You could also use, this is a flour mixture I made, so just normal all-purpose flour mixed with water. It's pretty runny. It's kind of similar to pancake batter. You can use that. I've never actually used that before, so I'm going to do a test and see what that ends up looking like when it's all dry. But then you can also use an actual art paste that you can buy at craft stores, that's what I'm using. This is already mixed up from school, and if you keep it in a container that you could cover it, it will save for quite a while. But it usually comes in a powder form. You mix it with cold water, stir it for like 2 minutes straight, and then that gets all the chunks out, and you're able to use it for your paper mache paste. So that's what I'm going to be using, but it's up to you, whatever you have at home. Next, you're going to dip the strips that you ripped up into your paste, and you're going to cover them so that they're entirely coated with the paste. And you're doing one at a time and just slowly spreading out the paste all over that strip. And once you have it, you're going to place it onto your form that you made, and you're just wrapping it around and kind of pressing it down, smoothing it out. Then you keep going until it's all the way covered. Do one layer. Once I have one layer on, sometimes I let it dry a little bit, and then I go and do one more layer just so it's nice and sturdy at the end when it's all dried. So here we are the next day. I let this dry overnight, and I did do one more layer actually of just thin white paper strips over the paper towel strips, just to give it more form and structure and have more of a blank canvas. So I could do one more layer on this, but I think it's pretty good, so I'm going to keep it like this. I did do a test with the flour and water mixture, and this I just did one layer with the paper towel strips, and it's like as hard as a rock after it's dried now. So if you're going to use that and that's the only supplies you have at home, that would be great for this paper mache project. The only thing is it is a little bumpy and more texturized than I would like. It was kind of hard to smooth everything out when I was putting the strips on. But it is really sturdy, so I really like how it turned out, and it dried a little bit lighter, I think, because of the flour, so that also makes it a great surface to paint on. Whatever supplies, again, you have at home, either one would be great. So I'm going to go ahead now with my paint. I am actually going to use watercolors. It might seem weird, but I'm going to do more of a dry brush technique, so I don't want my paintbrush to be super wet. I'm going to make sure to kind of wipe it off on a paper towel before I get all of my color. I actually used watercolor on those 3 examples I showed at the beginning of the video, and it seems to work pretty well. So I'm going to use that just because I have more of a variety of colors with this watercolor palette, but whatever paint you have at home will work just fine. So there we have it. I finished my cat. It's kind of up to you, whatever you want to use. Paint, Sharpie markers, anything really works. So I hope you have fun making your own paper mache projects at home, and I will see you guys soon.